America, and welcome to Invent America, because America invents.
This episode of Inventor is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network and has been bringing to you the best of America's home-based product innovation since 1998. This segment of Inventor is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
We have got Bruce and Melanie Thomas. They're from California, and they've got a product that they've been manufacturing and selling for a while. It is called Retain Garden Tool Treatment, and it keeps your garden tools nice and clean and safe. So I want to, get them in to tell us a little bit about the product. So Bruce and Melanie, this is supposed to be a fun one here where we talk about, that little bit of angst that goes into a husband and wife team. So one of you tell our listeners, what is Retain, the garden tool treatment?
Retain is a new product. We just renamed it. It used to be Prune Master, and it cleans, sanitizes, and lubricates your pruning tools so you don't spread plant disease, and it makes it easy to clean your tools. It's the answer to how do I clean my tools?
So that's excellent. And, I used to live in a condo and didn't really have any plant tools, and now I live in the forest and I have all kinds of plant tools. So I did appreciate the bottle that you sent to me. I used it first class. So tell everybody, where can they go and find you?
Well, you can get it presently at walmart.com and what's it?
Zamzow's selling it. They're up in northern Idaho.
Southern Idaho.
Okay. And you make everything right here in America, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm a veteran also.
Oh, congratulations, and thank you very much for your
Navy.
service. All right. So our first really fun question here. All right. You guys work together. Tell our listeners, how does that go for you?
Well, we have our own strengths. So Bruce is a really good CEO. He says I can be president, so I'm president. And, and he spends a lot of time on the computer doing the research and writing and doing all the stuff CEOs do. And I actually have a background in advertising, and I'm doing the social media part of it, which we really need. And I was a photographer, so we make a really good team.
You do.
I am a professional landscape gardener, which is why this product was invented. Frankly, I got tired of using WD-40 on my pruning tools because all it did was oil the dirt. And it didn't clean the dirt. And the tools would not work when they were dirty, even if they were sharp. So one thing led to another. I invented something that would clean and not rust the tool. Then I invented something that would clean and not rust and lubricate. And finally, I invented something that would do all of that and sanitize the tools so that when when bacteria and fungus plant disease get on the tool, it will not transfer to a healthy plant on the tool.
Well, I think a lot of us miss how important that is, that you don't realize when you're out, and deadheading or pruning something, that the next plant you go to now can be a victim of what you were trying to clean up.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And especially when you get in the humidity like we've got right now, and I'm not sure, how you guys are, but out here the humidity has been deadly because it's killing, the bees off because they can't get the pollen. It's the last thing you need to do is make it worse.
Well, we need to move those bees here where we're at. We're in the Southern California desert where it's hot and dry.
So we do have something really exciting to share with you, though, about our product.
Please.
We are now completely organic. That's one of the reasons we changed our name, because the product is different. Everything in it is organic, and we have registered with the Washington State of Agriculture, Department of Agriculture, as an organic product.
Wonderful, wonderful. That, we love to see it made in America, and we love to see it be organic. The last thing you want to do is be putting chemicals into, one, the food that you're eating. I don't want to put chemicals into my herb garden. You really don't want to be putting it into where the little animals get to.
Right.
And, then it, runs off into the water table. We connect the dots out here, because we live in the forest and we see all of that going on. I don't think a lot of consumers do connect all the dots, that whatever tool you got in your hand, whatever is on that tool can end up in your water.
Right. And we also had it tested against bleach, which is what people are using to sanitize their tools right now. So we had it tested in an outside source, and it came up that it killed bacteria and fungus just like bleach did. So it can replace, as this is an organic product that can completely replace bleach when it comes to cleaning tools.
Excellent.
One thing about the bleach is that it will severely make the tools rust.
Right.
And I mean, you'd be better off not using bleach at all and have bacteria on the tool to make the tool rust, because then it's just completely ruined. And we're looking to get a utility patent on the technology that this will kill something on the pruning tool, yet it's still considered organic by the government. In fact, our product that is registered with the Washington State Department of Agriculture falls under the federal blanket of the United States Department of Agriculture National Organic Program.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good job, you guys. It is a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's a pleasure to be able to visit with you and share your products. Do you have your product listed yet on some other platforms?
Besides Walmart.com?
Yeah.
We have our own website, retainsspray.com. And we are working on Amazon. So that is in the works.
There's a platform called Made in the USA.
Oh.
And it is only for products, and it's Amazon's competition, and it is only for products that are made in the USA. I will send you their contact information.
Oh, thank you very much, Rita.
And, then there's a couple of different, there's one of the gentlemen I know that has got the link to post for Home Depot. And I will send you his name as well. So everybody, we could talk more with you guys. We will get you on some video here, but stick with us, everyone. We have got another guest coming up in just a few seconds after we go and pay some bills. So stick with us, everybody.
This segment of Invent America is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
Everyone, and thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America, because America invents. If you are or you know of an inventor out there who's got some questions, needs some help, have them get in touch. If you want to be on the radio, it's free. So let me know and I will get you scheduled when we've got a fitting topic. I get to pick the topic. I get to pick the inventor. So join us when you can. It's always fun to see what you've got, what you're working on. And for those consumers out there, we need you to go and take a look at those products. Buy from American inventors, please. And my guest for this segment is Brian Paul. And Brian's got some interesting perspectives on working with teams. And so we are going to ask him some questions. So Brian, first of all, tell us what you invented. What are you working on in ballpark terms, because you're not patent pending yet?
That's right. Just painting in very broad strokes, developing an understanding of trauma. These are memories that are often stored in the body, and one of the primary modalities for helping folks transcend the emotional turbulence that comes along with a traumatic past is to bring some awareness. That the fancy schmancy medical term for it is interoception, but it's just bringing some awareness of what's going on from the neck down. So the concepts I'm developing are involved in basically helping folks develop this very important skill.
So you're inventing in your area of expertise.
Yes.
Excellent. And for a lot of inventors, when we're saying, all right, do you know anything about this? Well, no, I'm a homemaker and I'm trying to invent a house off the grid. It's like, you might have a few problems with that. Might want to, and do a little more research. And she came back to me and she goes, okay, totally out of my ballpark. Let me focus on a kitchen gadget. There you go. So when, we look at inventors that are inventing in their area of expertise, it does make a difference on what you're bringing to the party.
Yes, absolutely. Before applying to medical school, I did some contracting work, carried a tape measure with me wherever I went. And that tape measure in the kind of work that I'm doing in helping folks transcend their trauma is this idea of locus of control. It's where we find our control. Are we looking outside ourselves for solutions to problems that are really we're developing or creating for ourselves? And so that's where a lot of this work that I'm doing focuses on, Rita, bringing it back home, bringing the awareness back into that space, like I said, from the neck down, and not getting so caught up in our thoughts that we get swept away with them.
Well, I see a lot of inventors, when they're inventing alone, they feel like they're on an island someplace and there's no place that they trust to go and get answers. And then when they've got a partner, if their partner is their spouse or somebody they're close to, somebody they know, they tend to do better than when they bring in a stranger.
Absolutely. And I suspect it's because the partner is aware of those dynamics that can take place in relationships. Of course, it can also be a source of tension as well. So being mindful of that, but you're absolutely right.
Well, people are complicated.
Yeah.
To put it, in one line, people can be really
I'd be out of a job if it weren't, yes.
So when you're looking at somebody all right, parent, spouse, brother, sister, good friend, you've known them for a long time, their nuances, just exactly like you said. When I see problems develop quickly is when somebody brings in, a business partner that they've never met before, so they don't know their nuances. They don't really necessarily know their expertise. The business partner frequently will think, oh, you don't really know anything, so let me make all the decisions. That puts the inventor then in a really awkward position, and they kind of get frustrated quickly. How do those work?
Yes, these sort of relationship difficulties can be hard to navigate. Again, getting back to this idea of locus of control, really trying to understand what is in somebody's area of expertise. What do we have control over, and when to let go as well. That's an important skill as well. When to know this person does in fact know more than me. Surrendering to trust. It's a very difficult thing to do in our interpersonal and romantic relationships for sure, but even more so in these business dynamics.
Absolutely. And I think the person who tends to be writing the checks tends to feel like they may have the most right to control,
Yes.
but they may not know the most.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And that can create some problems too. And I think, you've got an inventor who's solved a problem, and frequently they are terrible at marketing.
That
And
tends
so
to be the
now
case,
they need
yes.
to bring somebody in to sell the product, to market the product, and tell the story. And sometimes the inventor doesn't necessarily like the story that's being told.
That's right. That's right.
So interesting dynamics, the human soul.
Very much, very much. And that the conflict between the head and the soul, right? It goes back thousands and thousands of years. Nothing new here. Yeah.
Oh, it does. And my husband sometimes will say, well, who did you discuss that with? And I go, me, myself, and I can have a very interesting conversation.
Yes.
And you never know who's going to win. Because they can really disagree with each other.
Very much so. Very much so, yes.
You get the head going with the eye going, and the me going and everything. And it's like, it's like when you get up in the morning, my head goes, oh, you can go on and do this. And my body goes, not a chance.
That's right. That's exactly right. That gets back to one of these ideas I have that a lot of memories are stored from the neck down that we're not actually aware of, and they can whip us around, cause a lot of chaos in our lives, interpersonal conflicts as well, again, both at home and in the workplace. So just bringing some awareness, being mindful of what's going on so that we're not as likely to get whipped around or jerked around by those powerful emotions, especially that fight or flight response. We get into these defensive positions, right? And it's almost like we're defending our lives in some ways. We can respond in that way. And if we're not aware of it, just creates a lot of problems for us.
No, I know. So we will be back with Dr. Paul right after this break to go and pay some bills. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those relationships. So everyone stick with us. We'll be back for some more fun in just a few seconds. If you're an inventor or you know an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free, inventorsroundtable.org. Thanks for being with us, and we're talking about the fun subject of husband and wife teams. And, at what point do you figure, okay, we need some couples therapy? And our industry expert for this segment is Dr. Brian Paul, who's an inventor himself. And, he knows some of those, issues that can come up with inventing. So, Brian, I'm going to just go with the Brian, if that's all right. Tell our listeners a little bit about your professional background.
Certainly. Thank you for having me on, Rita. Yes. So Philly's my adopted hometown, but I moved to New Hampshire about 25 years or so ago to attend medical school at Dartmouth. I actually trained as a pathologist before seeing the light and transitioning into psychiatry, where I've been practicing as a community mental health psychiatrist for about a decade or so. I'm on the front lines of trauma, as you can imagine, in that line of work. And the inventions that or concepts that I've developed are aimed at addressing the underlying trauma. How do we bring more awareness to what's going on from the neck down, which is where a lot of emotional turbulence tends to bubble up and can whip us around. And that's a great segue into what we're going to talk about a little bit today, about the interpersonal dynamics that can take place between couples, especially around something like bringing a product to the consumers.
Well, there's a big difference between, oh, I've got a cool new idea, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that really works, to the point it's like, okay, now we've got to start spending money.
Yes. And when you bring money in, yeah.
Things can shift.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Certainly. And, and sometimes they shift when one partner's got more of the technical background and the other one doesn't really understand maybe the science behind it. Mm-hmm. How do they deal with that? How do you move forward successfully and learn to deal with the struggles?
That's a great question. This is something that I share with my patients all the time. I glossed a little bit over my background, but I actually did some contracting work years ago before applying to medical school. I was a framer, and I carried two tools with me all the time, Rita. One was a tape measure. The other was a speed square. For those inventors or just creative types who've done home improvements, that sort of thing. A speed square is a triangular shaped tool. It's got at least a dozen or so different uses. But the analogy and the kind of work that I do is what I refer to as it's the Karpman drama triangle. Karpman, Karpman drama triangle. He was a psychiatrist back in the 60s, and he developed this really cool tool. It really is a tool to help folks navigate the interpersonal dynamics that take place. In each of the three corners of the triangle is a role that we play. That's why he called it a drama, not because of the drama that tends to play out in interpersonal dynamics when things go awry, but because these are roles that we play like in a Shakespearean drama. And in one corner would be the victim. That's that part of ourselves. We can all identify with it in one way or another, where we kind of feel put upon, that somebody's not paying attention to us, that sort of thing. And the other would be the persecutor. That's the P in the second corner of the triangle. That's that part of us that can get a little judgy. Oh, why isn't this person listening to me? That sort of thing. And then in the third corner is the enabler or the rescuer in this drama triangle. That's the part of us, like I said, that enables bad behaviors when we don't set firm boundaries with our partners. And what ends up happening is we can get into this vicious cycle and can rarely break out of it. So I encourage my patients, and I encourage anyone who's interested in bringing a little more peace into their interpersonal relationships, Rita, is to just try to recognize when we fall into these roles. We all do it, myself included, and it can continue, it can escalate things if we're not paying attention to it. And just like that speed square doing contracting work, it can come in handy in all sorts of relationships, not just our interpersonal or romantic relationships, but business relationships, that sort of thing as well, Rita.
Well, I think, for partners, whether they're husband and wife, and, we kind of joked about the idea of, husband and wife team, but anybody that's got partners, when they're looking at, all right, this is my area of expertise, we get everybody's input, but I make the final decision. This is your area of expertise. You make the final decision. And when you're able to then do it that way, you're respecting boundaries.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's that enabler corner of the triangle there, the respecting boundaries. Yep.
Absolutely. I know, I always bring personal stuff into this stuff because it's what makes it, I think relevant to a lot of folks. Is like, we were walking the dogs this morning and there was a bear out there. And I told my husband, it's like, no, I said, I follow you when it comes to bears with the dogs, out in the forest. You decide, because it's got to be a split second. This is not open for discussion. You lead, I follow, and here we go. And so I think, when inventors are, the husband and wife team, and it's like, okay, this is your area. We discuss it. You make the final decision. This is my area of expertise. We'll discuss it. I'll give you my arguments, and then I will make a final decision. But, inventing, there are some things in the steps that you go through that are, difficult. The budget, how much money do you say, okay, we can do this much, we can do this much. This is where we're going to go to get it. And boy, communications is the name of the game.
Amen. Amen. Yes. And again, sort of just taking an opportunity, especially when tensions arise, to just pump the brakes a little bit. That's what this tool can really be helpful for. It's just kind of taking a step back, recognizing when we might be falling into one of these roles, trying not to see ourselves as a victim, that this person's personally attacking us, and diffusing the situation as quickly as possible. Again, not just in romantic partnerships, but in business ones as well. Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Brian, thanks so much for being with us today. We are grateful to have the insight. America, you are the ones that products are developed for. Is whatever you need, there's somebody out there that's invented a new product, and we appreciate the fact that you go to our site, you take a look for them. Be with us again next week when we're going to talk about some of the things going on in the political realm. Even on Invent America, we have to pay attention to reality. So be with us next week, and in the process, have a wonderful, wonderful week.